Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this dance discussion with Ray Mercer. My name is Taylor Wyatt, and I'm the Education Coordinator at Omaha Performing Arts. Just a reminder to please use the Q&A section. It's a chat on this side for your questions for Ray during the discussion. So I will go ahead and introduce Ray.
Hey guys, my name is Ray Mercer, and I am so excited about this chance to host this digital dance Q&A sponsored by Omaha Performing Arts. While I am so excited to do this, but I am also excited me and the staff at Omaha Performing Arts are excited to see you back at the Holland Performing Arts Center and the Orpheum Theater. We are so excited to eventually get back into the theater. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Ray Mercer, and the exciting part of all of this is that I am from Omaha, Nebraska, and I was born and raised there. I attended Monroe Junior High, and I went on to graduate from high school from Omaha Central. All my family's there. And I'm really excited about this opportunity because it gives me the opportunity to share my experiences with my hometown. I wanted to talk about a little bit about how, as you know, these are very unique times. These are very, very unique times. But as an artist and in the Broadway community and as a dancer, I would like to share with you about how I've been keeping myself in shape, how I've been dealing with it mentally, being confined, not being able to take class or, to do my show, and how I've been going on with my day-to-day life so that I can stay, just abreast, to stay present. One thing I would suggest is that every day, no matter what, for the past 4 or 5 weeks, I donate 30 minutes of my day strictly for exercise. I do some type of exercise, some type of movement, some type of, either I'll go for a run or I'll do yoga, some type of exercise just to get my body, moving so that, I'm able to do what I need to do when I go back to work. So I donate 30 minutes a day. Another thing is, I think it's important as artists that we also take class. And, a lot of people, well, how am I going to take class? There's so many virtual classes that are going on. I take either a virtual yoga class, or I'll take a ballet class, or the other day I took a Zumba class, just a different class so that I'm able to move my body, so that I can stay on top of things while I'm away from work. Another thing that I also do is I make sure I have some type of dance experience. For the last 4 or 5 weeks, at least once or twice a week, I'll watch a dance concert. Ailey is having all Ailey Access, where they present an entire work for, I think it's on Thursday. They have Ailey Access where you can watch a whole performance of Alvin Ailey. I've also watched a performance with ABT. I've been watching musicals. So I try to spend 3 or 4 times a week experiencing some type of art so that I don't become too detached from it. So those are 3 good ways. Make sure I get my workout in, I make sure I take a class, and I experience some type of art throughout the week. So that's what I've been doing. Also, maybe I could share some of those links where, where you could take class, you could take a ballet class. I know that OPA is going to be offering in a couple weeks a ballet class, a virtual ballet class. So those are all opportunities that you can take advantage of so that you don't feel so detached from your artistic energy. So with that being said, I would like to open it up and get some questions.
Perfect. So, our first question is, could you just go ahead and talk a little bit about your career path and just about your journey to where you are now from when you first started dancing?
Absolutely. As you know, I graduated from Omaha Central, and I was always active in the drama department. And one of the things a month or two ago, when I was in Omaha for the spring reveal, I had an opportunity to run across my drama teacher. She was there, Mrs. Thomas, at Omaha Central. So I was always active in the drama program in middle school and in high school. I did summer musicals at Lewis and Clark. Like I said, I was in the drama department at Central. I also was active with Omaha Community Playhouse. I did Funny Girl there. I did Member of the Weddings. I did 2 musicals there and a play at Omaha Community Playhouse. It wasn't until I was 17 that I got interested into dance. A friend of mine was taking a ballet class, just a random ballet class at a studio that she attended in West Omaha. She dragged me, and it was from then on that I fell in love with dance. And often when I was preparing to do this Q&A, I was thinking about if it hadn't been for that studio in West Omaha and me at 17, I probably wouldn't be the dancer, the choreographer, or the artist. If she hadn't given me an opportunity, I probably wouldn't be the artist that I am today. So it's because of those opportunities that I was able to eventually get to Broadway.
That's great. We have another question from the chat. Someone wants to know, how did you know where to look for opportunities?
Okay, that's good. That's a very good question. I remember when I was in high school, when I did Funny Girl, it was an ad where they were always, it was like a listing of all the auditions that were coming up for the year. And I would always look in the newspaper for the audition. That's how I did it in the very beginning. But now there are so many ways. There's playbill.com and backstage.com, and they have the breakdowns for anything that you could possibly ever want to do, from cruise ships to if you wanted to dance backup for an artist, if you wanted to do Broadway, if you wanted to do company work, if you wanted to do commercials, anything you could possibly want to do as far as dance and performing arts is in Backstage and Playbill.com. And you can go there and just look at the auditions, go to the auditions.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. We have lots of questions from the chat, which is great.
Okay, bring them on.
So going back to everyone being in quarantine right now, someone wants to know, how are other performers, along with yourself, dealing with being in quarantine, with the uncertainty of the future and being, not working right now? How are you kind of dealing with that?
That is such a great question. And I've learned through this whole process, this is something that nobody has ever experienced before. But I've learned in this particular process how resilient artists are. And we as artists and performers and dancers and actors and singers, we will find a way. So I found that recently that artists are turning to, they're posting videos, they're taking class online. I just recently, a friend of mine, he was one of the dancers, he did a project with me. And what he did, every week he'll teach a dance combination. And then he challenges everybody to learn the combination and post it. It's things like that that really have kept, I've seen a lot of actors who have been posting, self-taping themselves and posting monologues. There are benefits, all kind of benefits, where artists have come together in their homes and sang songs or did dance performance or had Q&As like this. So I'm finding that a lot, especially in this Broadway community, they're finding resources. They're just doing the things that they know how to do, but it's just different. They're doing it virtually in their living rooms and in their backyards.
Absolutely. Well, it's definitely a new time, and you know everybody's kind of getting used to being at home more, and how they can connect and engage with things virtually and
Right.
digitally. So that's great that you know there are so many opportunities out there for everyone who is dealing with the current you know health situation in the country. So, but it's great to know that there are so many opportunities.
Yes.
So we have a really good question that's really interesting. What's one thing you would tell yourself before entering the performing arts if you could go back in time?
Um, wow, that's a really, these are great questions. Um, that's a great question. I would tell myself, I don't think I would do anything different, because it's my journey. But I think I would tell myself that the best thing I could stick in my pocket was training. If I could be, I felt like I was a little behind because I was 17 years old before I started my dance training. And sometimes I would walk into auditions just lost. But I think what would help facilitate that or just ease some of the auditioning process is the training. I would suggest that you get as much training as possible. Take voice lessons. All the dancers, I would suggest that you take voice lessons because nowadays with Broadway, the minute you dance, if they like you, they're going to ask you to sing. Take voice lessons, uh, tap, ballet, jazz, theater, all that. I would have told myself to make sure that I got as much training as possible. That's what I would have told my bad little Ray, to get as much training as possible.
That's great. And then talking about Broadway and mentioning Broadway, um, you're in currently in a show. Well, not currently, but can you tell us a little bit about the show that you're in and have been in?
Yes, I am in Lion King. I'm starting my 18th season with the Lion King. I just a little fun fact. I just recently, my stage manager called and told me that I am the longest. I've been there the longest, other than any other male dancer on Broadway. So I just broke a record recently. So, but 18 years on Broadway in the same show. But now I forgot the question, Taylor. What was it?
Oh, just talking a little bit about the show that you're
The
in,
show. The
and
show.
yeah,
Lion King.
yeah.
Lion King. It is one of, if you haven't seen it, I doubt it. There's too many people that haven't. But if you haven't seen it, it's the most spectacular thing. And me coming from Omaha and ending up on Broadway in one of the biggest Broadway shows in history. I mean, to stop and think about it, it's hard to wrap my brain around it. And on top of doing it for 18 years, it's phenomenal. From the cast, the actors, the dancers, the singers, from wardrobe to stage management to stage crew. I mean, it really is. If I know if you've seen it, it takes a lot to get the show done. But it's a blessing to be around so many talented artists, so many talented, even like you think about the wardrobe and the costume department, what they have to do to make a show like that go on. It really, it's a great place to be. One of the greatest places to be.
That's great. And can you tell us what part do you play in The Lion King?
I'm the giraffe. I am the giraffe. I I am the I start off the show in the opening number. I'm the second draft that comes out. But just a little bit about the draft. It's it's like I'm on stilts, and there's a process to it. One dresser puts me in the stilts. I have to climb on a ladder. I put the costume on first, climb up on the ladder, and the first thing I put on are these two big old boots. They're big snow boots. I put those on. The next thing after the costume and the boots, I put on my head, and they're all custom made for us. And there's a little crank in the back to secure it. There's a little bungee in the back that attaches to the back of the costume so that I'm able to move my head freely. And the last thing I put on are my front legs. And when I'm standing up and walking from the tip of the ears to the toe, I am 14 feet in the air.
Wow,
Yes.
that's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
I think we might have a video about, a little bit more, just a quick video about you, and getting ready to become the giraffe before the
Oh
show.
yeah.
So if we could,
Yeah.
we'll show that really quick. It's about a minute long. It's
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
My name is Ray Mercer. I am part of the dance ensemble and I play the giraffe. We start by putting on the padding. Once I have the costume on, I get up in a ladder. The dresser puts my back legs on first. From there, I attach my head, and the last thing I attach is my two front legs. From the bottom of my feet to the top of the head is 14 feet high. Operating the giraffe is a negotiation. There's 3 points: your head, your front legs, and your back legs. You have to find your center and negotiate those 3 things. I think it has the most iconic visual in the show. The sunrise, and you see those 2 giraffes. The visuals in the show are like no other.
Hmm. Yeah, that's my giraffe, Gus.
That's amazing. Oh, you do have a name
Yeah,
for
his name is Gus.
I was wondering that earlier, so I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, that's
Um,
my buddy Gus.
That's wonderful. So we have another really great question. How do you balance between Broadway and the concert dance world and your choreography and everything you've got going on? How do you balance between all that?
Yeah, that's probably the question I get the most, probably. My schedule, just a little bit about my schedule. I do 8 shows a week, and I have Mondays off. And within those 8 weeks, I mean 8 shows, we may or may not have either costume fittings or rehearsals, depending on what's going on in the week. And also within that, I am also the resident choreographer for the Ailey School. So usually a normal day I was started on a Monday. I have all day of rehearsals, either doing projects or I'm at the Ailey School rehearsing the dancers there. That's on my day off. On Tuesday, I would start the show in the evening. I would also have some type of rehearsal for a project or whatever I'm doing, and then do the show in the afternoon. 2 shows on Wednesday. Thursday is pretty much the same. Friday's pretty much the same. I have 2 shows on Saturday and 1 show on Sunday. So 8 shows a week. And within that, I'm usually traveling. I'm at OPA or Philadelphia, or I'm choreographing around the world. I just use my vacation time or personal days. Sometimes if it's a bigger project, Lion King will let me take a couple weeks off so that I can do the project. It's just my schedule it's nonstop. Before this quarantine happened, I had 19 commissions between March and September.
Oh my gosh.
It was just my schedule is always packed, but I love it. I really do. I don't have a personal life, but that's fine. I love my job.
Well, that's great that you love what you do. I think, all of, everyone on this Q&A and discussion and, hopes to love what they do,
Right.
when they figure out what that is. And so talking about 8 shows a week, how do you manage performing 8 shows a week and manage recreating the same role every night?
Right. As I mentioned before, I've been there 18 years. I have, and it's 18 years in the exact same track. Nothing has changed. Every once in a while, they may come up and clean some things and switch some things out, but it's pretty much the same for 18 years. And so you have to develop a sense of work ethic. That you have a job to do. And the very first thing I always tell myself before I stand up in that giraffe and the curtain goes up is that this is a brand new audience and they're seeing it for the very first time. It may be 10,000 shows for me, but it's one person, probably half the audience, it'll be their very first time ever experiencing this. So I have to give them my 110% every single time. Not only do they pay good money, but their experience, it could be their very first time in a Broadway theater, and it's my responsibility to give them the best that I can every single time. So that's usually my motivation. There are times when I'm tired. I'm human. I do get tired, but I just have to find it within myself to hit the step every single time. I have an on and off switch. So as I hit the stage, I turn it on, and I come off, I turn it off.
That's great.
Yeah.
How has your time on Broadway changed the way that you view, life and the world?
It's a very good question. Wow, these are fantastic questions.
They're great.
Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself. Like I mentioned earlier, I never would have thought that, this 17-year-old kid would end up on Broadway. It just wasn't. And I knew that if it was something I wanted to pursue, that it would take so much work. It is. And there's one thing I can say about myself is that I have a very strong work ethic. And it's taught me that in order to get to a goal, there's no other way. People say, well, how do you do it? How do you, I wish there was something I could have drank that got me there a little quicker, but it's just simple, plain and simple. It's just hard work. It really is. And I've learned through this process that I'm a hard worker. I do. And I try to instill that in the dancers that I work with my castmates, all of that, I try to set a bar, and I try to, hopefully everybody rises to the occasion.
Yeah. So with your, expertise of not having a lot of time outside of the commitments that you have, a participant is asking, without a lot of time outside of schooling or many opportunities other than performing in one musical a year, how could they find some opportunities to really become a full-on dancer and make this a professional career?
Right. I'm assuming that they're a dancer and they want to become a dancer, right? Yes. So there is, I would suggest, I don't know what stage you are in your career, or if you're just starting off, but like I mentioned earlier, the very first step that you have to take is get the training. You have to be exposed to dance. You do, and I think that we nowadays, especially during these times, that we are exposed to so much dance. You can go to Instagram, you can go, anything you would want to have access for or have questions about, you can go and find it. Back then, I didn't have all that. I had to go and hustle the best way I knew how. But now we have so many opportunities. But your very first step is to get the training. Get the formal training, find out what discipline that you're interested in, whether it's, I would suggest you take it all, but if it's a concert dance, if it's contemporary, if it's ballet, find out what discipline and get all the training you possibly can. Once you get that training, the opportunities will open up. They'll find you. I had this teacher, I just started dancing, and I started to find myself as a dancer. And I asked that very first question. I asked the same question you asked. And she said to me, I said, well, how will I know? They said, they will find you. Just do the work, and the choreographers will find you. They'll talk about you. The directors will find you. So very first step is just do the work. Get some training.
That's a great.
Come to me. I'll come hire you. If you're good enough, I'll come hire you.
There you go.
Yeah. Your first gig.
That's fantastic. What an offer.
Yeah.
So what are ways to grow your resume and pursue your dance dreams while also pursuing a college education? So a little bit again about balance.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. I work with a lot of college students. I recently did a little college tour where I was set a work on 6 different colleges. And I think that number one, I encourage them, the beautiful thing about being in an institution where you're in college is that the choreographers will come to you. If you're at a good college and you get a good dance program, that, you'll get good choreographers, and you'll experience so many different choreographers within your 4-year stint in college. So that's that within itself, you can put that on your way. All the choreographers that you work with in college is a huge, huge resume builder. Also, take summer intensive are very, very good to do while you're in college. find out a summer program that you want to go to, whether it be ALE or Complexions, or OPA has an amazing summer program. Any summer programs where you could dance for 6 weeks, experience different choreographers, experience different teachers, that's another huge resume builder. On top of the training that you're already getting. Just take advantage of all those choreographers that are coming to you that you may not be able to work with ever again, are great resume builders, always. Little side gigs. I over the summer, I work with hundreds of dancers who do projects for me. I was, before the quarantine, I was putting a cast together for a project I was doing for Broadway Cares. And 5 of them were college students.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are opportunities, even if you're busy in college and with schoolwork and things, there are opportunities to get out there and get some more training and more opportunities, if you want to become a choreographer or a professional dancer. So going into this next question, what is your advice to someone looking to become a choreographer?
Yes. Those are the ones that always warm my heart. I mean, one of the best things about the thing I'm most proud of, being an artist is that I'm a choreographer, and it's one of those things that, I'm able to self-express. All that information is like being a writer or a painter. It comes directly from me. First of all, I guess the hardest thing is figuring out your voice and who you are as a choreographer. And that's going to take a little time, a little experimenting. And what I did when I first started off, I just looked at choreographers that I was drawn to, the ones that inspired me, the work that, kind of motivated me, and, how they move and what their aesthetic was like. So I studied a whole lot of choreographers before I even got started and decided I wanted to be one. But I think sometimes good dancers don't make good choreographers. And it's just the opposite. Sometimes not so good dancers make amazing choreographers. McGregor, he's a famous European choreographer, and he's never danced before in his life. And his work is stunning. Stunning.
Oh, wow.
And I think it is. And I think it's just a matter of having good intuitions and trusting your intuitions, having a good eye, being able to shift patterns around, and as starting off as new, just play around, test your choreography on some dancers and see how it's working out for you. Videotape it, see what you like about it, see what you don't like about it. Challenge yourself. Even still to this day, there's times when I get sick of how my work is looking. So I go back to scratch. And I'll videotape myself, and I'll do things that I absolutely would never do or never would feel comfortable with. And I'll start building choreography from that. You have to find different ways, exploring, and being a young choreographer, everything is right. Anything you do is right. It's your voice. But playing around, continue to play around, find dancers to experiment your work, have other choreographers. I have a little mentee, he wants to be a choreographer too, and he's always sending me stuff. What do you think about this? And what do you think about that? What would you do with this? Yeah, so experiment with a couple things and then send it to somebody and get some feedback.
That's fantastic. So talking more about you as a choreographer now, how do you go about choreographing a new piece? And, can you tell us a little bit about what your process is and what do you usually draw inspiration from?
Very good question. I'm one of those choreographers. I'm not an abstract person at all. So usually most of my work stems from something that I've experienced, or a conversation that I've had, or a book that I've read, or some type of social issue, or it's always those things that are tangible, things that that I can relate to, things that I can see, things that I can feel, and also those things that deal with almost like the human spirit, all of those things that we all experience. We all love, we all get scared, we all get mad, we all of those things that are, common for everybody. I think that Those are the most important to me. Inspiration-wise, it comes and goes. My inspiration comes and goes. Right now, I am, since I've been on quarantine, been reading a book, and I've also been very interested in the Central Park Five. So I'm thinking about working on a work there. It usually starts with an idea for me, and then from that idea, I'll think about what story I want to tell. Then once I figure out what story I'm going to tell, usually I'll take my assistant into the studio and we'll start playing around with with movement. And then from there, I'll go on the search for music. And then once I got a substantial amount of movement and stuff that I could piece together, or, composition wise, I'll get some dancers together and we'll start working on a project. Usually that's where it stems from me. And every project's different. A lot of directors will say, okay, this is the project and this is what I want. So sometimes it has nothing to do with me. I'm just trying to create a story from somebody else's story, or create a vision from somebody else's story. A lot of times projects come to me. I did this Telemundo project and they wanted a big opening number with firecrackers and all the rest of that stuff. So a lot of times, sometimes it has nothing to do with my vision, but making someone else's vision come to life.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
With so many works that you have and so many projects that you've worked on, what are some of the most memorable projects that you have choreographed?
Wow. I think when I answer this question, I think that the most memorable, I think the very first piece I've ever choreographed in my whole life is probably the most memorable, because it was horrible. It was wretched. It was, to think back on it now, it was really bad. But it was at a high school. I choreographed a piece on a high school in Detroit. And it was, my mentor gave me an opportunity to explore and play around, but had she not given me that opportunity, I probably wouldn't be talking to you today. So I always say that was probably one of my favorite ones, well, the most memorable. I also created a piece called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner on Philadelphia. A lot of people have done it since then, but it was the one I probably required the most rehearsal. It required because it was a 5-foot table that dancers were jumping on and turning on and falling off of. So that one is one of my favorites because it probably required the most work. Recently, I did a piece for Broadway Cares, and it was 3 women. It was a trio, and all 3 women were from The Lion King, and it was, I told a story, and I created a story off of their voices, and it was, actually it was their story. I just created the movement for them. And it was so special to me because it was special from them. That was one of the recent pieces I did. Yeah, so those 3 probably, they come and go for me. I'm more into the process. I really like, the finished work doesn't do anything for me. I like being in the studio working with the dancers. That's probably the main reason why I love doing what I do, is having the interaction with the dancers and experience and playing around with things, getting things right, getting things wrong. Once it hits the stage, it doesn't belong to me anymore. You know what I mean? I've given it to them. So the end result, it's fine, but the process is probably the most important thing to me.
That's great. Well, talking then, you mentioned Philadelphia. When our interlude is over and we welcome everybody back to our venues, Philadelphia is scheduled to perform at Omaha Performing Arts next April. Can you talk a little bit more about your work with Philadelphia, how that partnership came to be, and the work that you've made with them?
Yes, I am so excited. I didn't say this, but this is probably one of my favorite pieces to put together. But I wanted to wait for this. So when you guys if you get an opportunity to go see it at Omaha Performing Arts, I think it's at the Orpheum Theater. Are they at the Orpheum? Mm-hmm. Yes. They'll be at the Orpheum Theater. Philadelphia is probably one of my favorite companies to work with. Their aesthetic and how they move as dancers fits my choreography to a T. It's fast and it's athletic, and It's tactile. It's all of those things that that company possesses. It just fits my choreography. I've had a long-standing relationship with them. This is probably my fourth work on them. I started workshopping the work probably about a year ago, and we started rehearsals back in December. I completed the piece right before this quarantine thing happened, so the ballet's finished, and it's so exciting, and they're beautiful dancers. It's about a 15-minute piece, and it's all original music done from some original music done from a composer at the Lion King. It's the costumes are beautiful, the dancers are beautiful. I'm really excited about this work. You guys are gonna love it. I hope.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to see it either. And I know that our participants are probably so thrilled and so excited to see it. And you know, a year goes by quicker than we know it.
Yeah, it does.
So what is the most important piece of advice that you'd give to a student entering the performing arts, specifically at this time when so many things are unknown?
Yeah, these are scary times. You know, I can't lie, because even for me, it gets scary, because you don't know what life is going to be like, or what art is going to be like after this. You just don't know. You know, what is this virtual thing? Is this going to be the way we connect as artists? I hope not. You know, because the beautiful thing is being able to go to the theater and sit down and see live theater, and to experience processes in the studio, and having exchanges and the rehearsal process. That is the brilliant, magnificent thing about art. You know, is that we as artists, we're able to physically share art with each other. And during these times, you know, I have to keep telling myself that, you know, this is temporary, and what I do with myself, or how, you know, what can I do to make myself a better artist coming out of this? You know, how do I prepare myself? You know, what have I learned about me as an artist, me as a person? And that is, it's opened so many opportunities to me to explore art in a different way. You know, I'll spend hours looking at ballets and dance and musicals and those types of things, so that when I come up out of this, I'll have something to share. So I would give you this advice, is that prepare yourself to share your best self when all of this is over, no matter what it is. Be the best singer, the best actor, the best dancer, you know, because you only get better from here, because you've lived through something that nobody else has experienced. I mean, I've been in this apartment for 7 weeks already. So I've decided that I'm going to create a whole new artist, a brand new artist. And when I'm done with all this, and when all this is over, I'll have something brilliant to share.
That's amazing.
And still keep experiencing art. You know, look up. I want to watch a musical tonight. So I'm gonna do a little investigation and find a musical to watch tonight. The other night I watched the ballet. ABT did a ballet. I watched that. You know, I think that if we keep it, you know, live and keep the juices going, that once we get out of this, we'll be better artists.
Amazing. So do you think that these events are going to have a long-term effect on theater?
So scary. You know, just talking candidly and honestly, you know, I just don't know, especially being here in New York. I was just talking to Taylor, we'll probably be the last to open, you know, and who knows when we'll be able to have 1,700 people in a theater again. You know, I don't know. You know, I really don't know what that looks like. And I just have to keep telling myself that this can't change the artist that I am, and what I have to share, and the voice that I have. You know, and to be honest with you, I don't know what it looks like. You know, I'm just hoping that we can come back stronger and learn from this experience and come back better artists.
Well, that's great. And going back to a little bit of what you were talking about, you've been watching, you know, different musicals and different, you know, live performances. But one of our participants wants to know, what is your favorite musical besides the one that you are in?
My favorite musical, I got a lot. Every once in a while, it varies for me. Let me think, my favorite musical. Like contemporary wise, I would have to say, you know, I've seen Hamilton, and I know it's cliche to say, but contemporary wise, it's a good musical and I love it. Let me see, recently, what musicals have I seen? I tell you what musical, I don't know if I have a favorite. I have a list of things ones I like. I've seen Ain't Too Proud to Beg recently and loved it. What else have I seen recently? Moulin Rouge, I saw that and loved it. And usually I go in looking at the choreography, you know, me being a dancer, I'll look at Moulin Rouge was a really good one. Hello Dolly, it was a classical one I've seen, loved it. I watched the 1970s version of The Wiz with Stephanie Mills recently on Broadway, loved it. So, I mean, it varies for me, but I've got a lot of musicals that I like.
That's great. So going back into The Lion King, what was the audition process like for The Lion King, and what should dancers expect from a Broadway audition?
Girl, or whoever it was, girl, guy, whoever it was, that was okay, let me tell you about this story. I was dancing with the company in Chicago at the time, 2003, I think, 2002. Yeah, 2002. I was dancing with the company in Chicago. I was in my second season with this company in Chicago, and all the rage for months, everybody was talking about Lion King auditions, and they were coming in, Lion King audition. Everybody and their uncle was at that audition. Everybody was at that, because they had been talking about it for weeks. And the audition, when I walked in, they had two sets of audition. I went with the second section. There was probably 100 men there at that particular time. And when we got there, they taught us a combination. It was a modern contemporary combination. And then they did a cut. And then they did a section from the show, taught us the section, piece of choreography from the show. We did that, and then there was another cut. After that cut, it was probably like 25 guys left. And then they taught us another phrase from the show and did some partnering. Then we were there for like 3 or 4 hours. Then they did another cut. And they did another cut. At the end of the audition, at the end of that cut, it was probably 10 of us left. And then they asked if we had any special tricks, any trays, any things that we could do. And they asked if we could tumble. I was a gymnast, so I tumbled. After that, there were probably 4 or 5 of us left. And then after the 4 or 5 guys that were left, they asked if we could go back and sing. We sang 16 bars. And by the end of that audition, I was the only guy that they hired out of like 200 men. And then there was another 200 to 300 women that auditioned.
Wow.
It was the hardest audition, and I was so nervous because I wanted it so bad, and it was so many talented guys there. And auditioning is so tricky because nowadays there's so many talented dancers, but sometimes it's not you. I mean, maybe they need somebody to fit the costume. Maybe they need 5'10" with 5'10" blonde hair and blue eyes. They need that dancer. You just never know, and and a lot of times it's typecast, and who can fit into a costume, who can, if that person can tap, if he can sing, and tap, sing, and is a good actor. That may alleviate a whole lot of dancers. That's why I say it is so important that you get so many experiences, that you take vocal lessons and you take all the dance that you need to do, gymnastics, anything that you can get you one leg over the next person in the room. To prepare yourself for auditions, for Broadway auditions, I would make sure that you have a song ready, because if you're a good enough dancer, they're going to ask you to sing. Make sure that you always have a song ready. Do your research on the show. Find out who's leaving the show. What are they looking for? so that you're just not going into an audition blind. Who's the choreographer? What does a choreographer move like? That's the same thing for concert dance. You know, if you're auditioning for a company, find out if one of the dancers are leaving. Who's leaving? What does that dancer look like? Well, if it's a repertory company, what types of works do they do? You know, it's all those things. Number one, I would suggest you do your homework before you even step foot in the audition. Two, make sure that you're prepared if you're going to a Broadway audition, that you're prepared with a song. Three, if it's concert dance, make sure that you know their work, what that company looks like, what do their dancers look like, all of those things. It's just a matter of doing your homework and walking in it prepared.
That's great. So what is your favorite memory from The Lion King?
It's so many. I mean, there's so many celebrities that have came through. You know, just too many to. I remember one time. It was. I had two that always sit well in my heart. That one time it was back probably a long time ago. I've been in the show probably about 4 or 5 years then, and we knew that somebody was in the audience, but we just didn't know who. And we got halfway through the show, and there's a part of the show where I run down the aisle and I have a kite and I stand on the stairs. I'm flying the kite, and I look 3 rows back and it was Michael Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
Freaked out. It was him, and he brought his kids. Nobody told us that he was there. Oh my God, I freaked out. And it was one of the hardest shows, but the most rewarding. He came backstage and he met us all. He was such a beautiful spirit. I remember that from Michael Jackson coming to the show. But one of the things I experience daily, one of the things that really keeps me going is that when people come for the very first time and you see them in the circle of life and you see big football players and grown men crying, you know, at the beginning, it really is, it's just a beautiful, aesthetically, Lion King is so beautiful to look at. And I get to experience that every day. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. So have there been any times in the past 18 years that, you know, you've fallen in that?
Oh, I knew that was coming. They always ask this too. Yes. Absolutely, my friend, whoever asked that question. It was my birthday, April 5th, 2006. And I was in the giraffe, and at the beginning of the Circle of Life, we're backstage. The first giraffe will stand up, I'll stand up. And we were just moving, we had moved theaters. We moved from the Minskoff to the Amsterdam. And we were at a brand new theater, and everybody knows what dry ice is. You know, that smoke that happens at the beginning of the show. Well, before they changed out the dry ice, it used to be wet. So I'm doing my little walk, and I get halfway across the stage, and then I hit a wet spot in the stage and fell in my giraffe, 14 feet high.
Oh my gosh.
And in the giraffe, you can't, you know, you kind of slide and fall. So I look like I just splat in the middle of the stage during the middle of Circle of Life. Everybody's running around, dancing around me, and you have this 14-foot giraffe laying in the middle of the center of the stage. And I can't get up because my legs and hands are tied in. So a crew guy had to come on, grab me by my leg, and drag me off the stage. Yes, I've fallen in my giraffe.
Well, hey, I mean, I don't know if any of us could do any better. So, you know, I think if that's the only time, you're doing great.
Yeah.
So we have a question. Have there ever been any times in your career when you've been discouraged, and how did you overcome that?
Wow, these are amazing questions, guys. Fantastic questions. Yes, there's times all the time. There's times when because I'm still doing them both, there's times when I'm at the Lion King and I'm exhausted, and it's Sunday and I've done 7 shows. I'm in the middle of my 8 shows and I'm absolutely exhausted and I'm not inspired and I'm not, you know, and sometimes the body hurts. You know, I tumble during the show. So by show number 8, my body's done. Always is done. And then you wonder, like, oh my God, how long can I do this? Really, I wonder how long, can my body hang in there for another 2 or 3 years, or whatever the case may be. But there's just that drive. I love what I do, and that passion for what I do always trumps out everything. There are times when I am discouraged and I don't feel like going to work, and I don't feel like being a giraffe. There are times, and you need to acknowledge that. And I would encourage you to acknowledge every time you don't, it's valid. You can say to yourself, you know what, I don't feel like doing this. And it's okay. Because the minute you acknowledge, the quicker you acknowledge, the quicker you can take a step to get over it. So yeah, absolutely. There are times when I don't. As a choreographer, I think everybody, sometimes some people have this notion that just dances just pop out of my head, but there are times when I'm not inspired. I don't feel like choreographing, or nothing's moving me. So I acknowledge it. I say to myself, okay, I'm not feeling inspired right now. I'm gonna have to put this aside until I do. It always comes back. It will always come back, because your true passion it will never fail you. Never.
That's great advice. With all the shows and projects that you work on, what is your regime or routine to make sure that you're healthy and in the best possible condition to work? So you were just talking about how, that you're keeping up with the 8 shows a week with the tumbling and everything. So
Right.
What's your routine to make sure that you stay healthy and
Right. It's when I'm doing the show, when the show is up, I have I go to the gym 4 times a week, and within those 4 times a week, I cover every body part, and then I add cardio. That is one of the, just the strength to do the show. I have to go to the gym. I'll take some type of class, maybe a yoga class. I have a friend who's she's a yogi, and she teaches class. Dancers, it's so important to take, all those ballet classes, that technique that you're gonna need when you're tired and you don't feel like doing. You're gonna need to rely on that technique. I have to take class. Also, I make sure I get at least a 30-minute warm up before every single show, so that I'm warmed up and ready to do the show. There's no way I could do that show 8 times a week without warming up. I have to warm up. I have to allow myself either 30 or 45 minutes before the show, before I even start the show, to warm up. Gym, make sure I warm up, take class, and also just in body maintenance, I have to make sure I get a massage once a week. I have a scheduled massage on Mondays where I get a massage. I go to PT, so that, it's always some type of maintenance on their body. Yeah, I have to take care of it. It's a lot of work. That's another full-time job, but in order to do 8 shows a week on Broadway, you need to take care of your body.
Absolutely. So what is your favorite warm-up exercise to do at home or before a show?
I got this little thing. It's kind of really a mishmash of a whole bunch of things. I have this little yoga thing that I do when it's kind of bootleg. It's really bootleg, but it works for my body. But I do this little yoga workout for about 4 or 5 minutes. I also do some type of ballet bar with plies. I make sure I get all my plies in. I stretch. I do throughout a day, I do 500 sit-ups a day. So I usually do like 1 to 200 during my warm-up, and then during the show, I'll do another 1 to 200 during the show, and then during my cool down, I'll do another 1 to 200. But I try to get 500 sit-ups in, make sure I get at least 200 push-ups in a day. That's for my warm-up. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's kind of a mishmash of everything. Make sure I get my sit-ups, push-ups, I do yoga, ballet, and then I stretch.
Amazing.
And then every once in a while, depending on what I'm doing, what type of tumbling passes I'm doing, I might tumble on the stage, depending.
Yeah. Well, going off of that, what is your favorite exercise dance routine to do at home, during quarantine?
During quarantine, I said I was going to write down a link. I did. I've been doing different things. I have a good friend. He used to be in the Lion King. He used to be, but he lives in LA now. But he, and that's another thing. He's a dancer. He created a whole new workout regime while he was on quarantine. So I've been doing his workout. I have another friend, Mochi, who does this aerobic yoga thing. I do hers sometimes. I switch up. If you guys go to Instagram, there's always somebody doing some type of workout program, some type of yoga thing, some type of ballet bar. Right now, especially right now. But I'll just sometimes scroll through my Instagram, or I'll text somebody and ask them what's the best ballet class to take, or what. And the beautiful thing is you could take class and nobody else is looking. You could be horrible and nobody else will see it.
Love that. We've got time for a few more questions.
Okay.
So really quickly, how many pieces have you choreographed?
I wish I had an answer. It has to be. It's hundreds of pieces.
Gosh.
It's hundreds hundreds of pieces all around the world. It's probably one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that I've been able to choreograph pieces all around the world. I've choreographed probably 10 or 15 pieces for Broadway Cares, probably 20. The most, and I've won the most awards for Broadway Cares for choreography. It's one of the things I'm probably most proud of. I've had the opportunity to choreograph so many ballets on so many companies around the world. I wish I knew. Hundreds, probably.
Hey, that's okay. So if you could be in any other Broadway musical, what would it be and why?
One where I didn't have to dance so much. Let me think. What would be fun to do? I don't know. I thought maybe Hamilton would be fun. Moulin Rouge. Like I said, I just recently saw that. That would be fun to do. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else probably. I think Hamilton would be fun to do. Yeah, probably. If I wasn't doing anything else, Hamilton would be fun.
That's great. So you choreographed our NHSTA showcase last year. So do you have a favorite memory from that?
Yeah, there were so many. There were really so many. I think it was really a challenge to me. Fun fact, I don't know how many students were there, but that was the most I've ever choreographed in one setting. And I did not know what I was getting into. And it was so challenging. It was so challenging. It required so much work. Me and my assistant were pulling our hair out, trying to figure out how we were going to create the best work possible for all the students. And it was probably the most memorable thing is that the fact that it was so challenging. But I think the most beautiful thing is just working with the students individually through that whole week, working with them individually, and then seeing them perform the way they did on stage was probably the most rewarding thing. Like I said, it was the most students I ever worked with, and being able to making sure that everybody got what they needed from the process, and then seeing the final project I had so much fun.
It was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, you're right. There was 85 students on stage at one point. So it's just, it ended up being absolutely incredible. So,
yeah.
And so we have time for one more question. And I really liked this question a lot. So I wanted to save it for last. So what role would you say the arts plays in our current unpredictable times?
Yeah, wow, that's such a beautiful question. I think that what it has shown me is that, like I said earlier, the resilience of an artist, because like any other job, the minute you tell an artist that you can't be on stage or you can't be in the studio, you can't share, you can't do this, you can't experience, You know, you're shutting us down completely. But the fact that we have found ways to share art, to experience art, and to continue art during these very temporary times, these times where, you know, these very uncertain times, we have found a way to share our voices and to share art. And I think that it's so beautiful to see, you know, that as artists, we've probably, this has never happened in history where, you know, we couldn't go to the theater, or we couldn't go rehearse, or we couldn't go see a musical, you know. So we've been resilient, and we found a way to share our voices. I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaway from these most uncertain times.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. Very, very beautifully put. Well, Ray, thank you so much for being here with us today. Unfortunately, we're out of time. An hour flies by, but thank you so much. We appreciate you being here and having a digital dance discussion and answering participant questions. We really appreciate it.
Yes, I want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for this time today. And I want to thank Omaha Performing Arts for giving me the opportunity to do this. And also, guys, if you want to have any other digital experiences, I would encourage you to go on Omaha Performing Arts website, and you can check out their mission. It's www.o-pa.org online, and you can get other digital experiences, things that are happening in the future. You can get all that information there. And also, if I were to leave you with anything, guys, this is just an interlude. This will pass. This is just a brief interlude, and soon we'll be back at the theaters, and we can share experiences at the Holland Performing Arts Center and OPA. So take care of yourselves. Be safe. Thank you so much, and I had a great time.
Thanks so much, Ray. Thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm.